Mic check, mic check. Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me and see my screen? What's up, everyone? What's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. Discord is good. Zoom is good here as well.
Recording
Let
in
me
progress.
get this recorded and we'll get started. Let me actually share my screen here on Discord. Okay, should be good. Zoom's good. We should be good here as well. Okay. Is Discord just making sure real quick? Discord's good. All right, perfect. Okay, so coming into market open, the main thing that we had was some news here with AMD with OpenAI. So as you can see now, AMD, we had some news. I think OpenAI, it was 10% stake into AMD. This is going to be the main watch. Actually, just hit our all-time high. So we talked about this one. All-time highs is going to be one of our main objectives coming to market open. We actually just recently hit our all-time high. So we'll just now wait since we already hit its main objective. We'll just wait for the first kind of 10 to 15 minutes to play out. If you can have any sort of major dip on AMD, potentially we can be looking for the dip and rip and opening drive play towards the upside. But as I mentioned, now it already hit our main objective. So now after all-time highs, we're going to have to look for key psych, fib levels, whatnot for a continuation higher. But quickly, just to go over my game plan coming to market open. Our key level and our game plan was really this previous day high, along with our last week's highs. You can see now kind of turning to support here, which is off your 207. This is the key level here on the higher time frame. So far, markets are defending that level. As for the as for the ES and SPY, the key levels that we have marked out coming into today, 670.50, along with our 672.50. What we like to see now is really the reaction off of our previous day highs, or a potential pullback for a continuation higher. Really, AMD is going to be the main watch, but it hit all-time high, so we'll keep an eye on this one. And then for NVIDIA, we'd like to see kind of buyer step in here off this 184. As for Tesla, I do like this one. Higher time frame looks fairly bullish. Key levels that we have marked out 430 along with our 445. So these are the key areas that we're going to keep an eye out on. The market actually is opening up here. And then also other names we can keep an eye out on. Hood for a potential pullback. And then, of course, some of these semiconductors, which are primarily going to be our main focus for a pullback long. Okay, the market is currently open. Okay, right off the bat here for the overall indices pushing lower. We have some of these semiconductors moving higher here. So we'll keep an eye out on AMD. As you can see, a little bit of a pullback here on AMD, which was expected because we hit our all-time highs. But we'll keep an eye out on AMD for potentially if that first pullback is going to get bought up here. Yeah, so key level for the Qs for me is going to be the 607.50. This is basically your previous day high, higher time frame key level here as well. As for AMD, yeah, the IV is going to be super juiced up just because we're up 30% here. We just recently hit your all-time highs here as well. If you had some contracts on AMD, right, look to scale some off on that first couple of candles, and we'll see if that first dip does get bought up. But it did hit one of our main objectives. So I do expect a little bit of profit taking, and we'll see if that first dip does get bought up here. Key level for me is going to be your 213.70s here on AMD. And then NVIDIA also pulling back into a key level for support here as well. Now it's going to be that 184. Couple semis moving up nicely here. Let's keep an eye out on Tesla and Apple. So far, these are the first names that are showing a little bit of strength here in the first few minutes. Tesla, for me, I personally like to see it above your previous day highs, 446. And then for Apple, this one, similar thing here as well. It's going to be above your all-time highs, 259. All right, with the market pulling back here, we'll see if any sort of buyers try and step in here on the Qs off our 607.50. Let's keep an eye out on Tesla. It's going to be the break now above your previous day highs. And then AMD seems like it's pulling back right off the bat after hitting our all-time highs. I'm going to be a little bit more cautious on AMD just because, as I mentioned, we hit our main objective. I'm going to let the IV cool off. But key level for me is going to be this 213 pre-market level here that I'd like to see AMD find some buyers off of. Okay, let's keep an eye on Tesla. As I mentioned, first kind of couple minutes showing some relative strength here compared to the overall indices. For me now, it's going to be the break above our previous day highs. 446 here on Tesla. If you can break above our 446 here, also going to be our 5-minute range. You can see some buyers trying to step in here on the Qs. Could be looking for a potential break and retest above our previous day highs here. All right, so Tesla came up towards our previous day highs. A little bit of rejection so far. Let's see if we can break above our previous day highs. That's going to be key if you want to see Tesla continuation. All right, so far right off the bat here, Qs kind of pushing lower. No buyers stepping in here on the Qs, but this is my exact level. I personally like to see the buyer step in here. This is your previous day highs here on the Qs, 607. This is the level I'd like to see Qs hold if you want to see any sort of push higher. As for Tesla, as I mentioned, I'm interested in calls. Now it's going to be above your previous day highs, 446.50. As for Apple, a little bit of rejection off your previous day highs as well, 259. All right, we're finding some buyers here on the Qs. Let's see if we can break back above this 207.50s here. As for Hood, I actually do like this one here as well. This is your previous day high retest. We could potentially keep an eye out on Hood. Very bullish with this gap up. Now retesting this previous day highs 150. As for Tesla, not as interested anymore. Rejected off your previous day highs. This one does have a gap fill back towards the downside. And then even Apple rejected off your previous day highs here as well. So I'm just most likely just going to focus back in on the semiconductors here. And then we'll also keep an eye out on potentially NVIDIA here as well, kind of bouncing off our 184, which is our higher time frame key level of support. All right, so this first dip so far, trying to get bought up here on AMD. Key level for me is going to be your 1 minute opening range for a potential reclaim. This is not this would be a reclaim setup back above your 1 minute opening range. Sorry, 1 minute opening range low for potential push back up and towards your all-time highs and above here. Would I be interested here on AMD? I would be looking at the 230s, or you could keep an eye on 225s. I think I'll probably just hold off on AMD just because the option contracts, we did have this really big gap up, so the pricing is going to be a little bit off. But key level for me is going to be this 220 opening candle range low here. Most likely, I'm just going to let AMD digest for the next probably like 10 to 15 minutes. All right, let's see if any sort of buyers step in here off your 607 here on the Qs. As for NVIDIA so far, kind of bouncing off your key level support, as I mentioned, 184. I'm really only interested in NVIDIA if it can break back above your 1 minute range high. If you can break above that, potentially we could be looking for a little bit of reversal because this one did gap down here with that news that we had in the pre-market. So NVIDIA, if you can break it back above your 1 minute opening range high, I'm interested in for potential reversal back towards the upside here on NVIDIA. Or even Tesla. Tesla potential reclaim here as well. 446 here is in play. As for AMD, I'm most likely going to hold off the pricing. I don't really like the pricing of these contracts just because we did have this major gap up. So the IV is fairly elevated. I'm probably just not going to trade AMD today. Okay, some of the names I'm keeping an eye out for here now. Keep an eye out on Tesla for the break back above. It's going to be your previous day highs. That's going to be the setup that we need to break above. And then NVIDIA, potentially if you can get back above your 1 minute opening range. I do like this one for a break above that for a continuation back towards the upside. As for AMD, as I mentioned, Now, with kind of rejecting off of your all-time highs right off the bat, I'm not interested in trading AMD just because the IV is elevated here as well. Gonna let probably just for today get the option pricing fixed, just because we have this big gap up. No one really, at least the premiums are going to be fairly juiced up. So I'd be very cautious trading AMD. There's going to be a lot of kind of profit taking right off the bat. And then we can keep an eye out on the Qs, 607.50 here. This is still the level I'd like to see defend if you want to see upside. If we break underneath this, then I'm going to be less bullish. But I'm still technically going to be bullish here on the higher time frames, but I'm going to be less bullish if we break underneath this 607 here. Palantir here as well, showing some buyers kind of stepping in right off the bat. We're above your sorry, we're not above your previous day highs, but key level for Palantir 182, kind of this 5 minute range. You like to see it above that if you want to see any sort of push higher. I see some of you guys having broker issues as well, so I'd be very cautious if you guys are on any brokers. Okay, so with the Qs pulling back here, we can keep an eye out on NVIDIA if we can break above your 5 minute range high now, along with these down close candles. And then still the exact same kind of thesis still applies here. Tesla above your previous day highs, and then Palantir potentially above your 182. It looked like the best name so far. AMD actually is bouncing into key levels of support, 213. This is your pre-market levels. You like to see some buyers trying to step in here on AMD, but I'd be very cautious if looking for potential kind of pullback long on this one. Yeah, it seems like in the chat, some of you guys are having broker issues with Robinhood and Webull. So I'd just be very cautious if you're trading those ones or if you have orders placed. Okay. NVIDIA, keep an eye out on NVIDIA here. We're now breaking above your 5 minute range high along with your down close candles. I'll be interested in NVIDIA for a potential pullback. This one, mean reversion back up and towards your previous day close and above. So let's keep an eye out on this 5 minute range to see if we can get that retest. It's going to be off your 186 here now. Okay, Qs dropped 5 minute, still looking fairly good here, holding up here on the Qs. We'll keep an eye out on on NVIDIA for a potential pullback of this 5 minute range high. So far, breaking above, it seems like it's slowly, strongly pushing back towards the upside. We'll see if we can get that pullback down and towards that 5 minute range high. Some of the semiconductors are moving up nicely here. AMD, the one that pulled back, some profit taking kind of coming to market open, which was expected. Really, most of these names are kind of dropping, Hood's dropping here, kind of reversing. As for the rest of the tickers like Intel, TS7MU, that first dip kind of got bought up. So at least for NVIDIA, this is one of my favorite watches now once it broke above your 5-minute range high. Now let's see if you can come back down and retest. If it ends up moving higher towards our 188, I don't like it as much, but I'd like to see kind of the retest of this 5-minute range here now, 186.15 for a push towards the upside. Currently with the Qs trying to reclaim back above your previous day highs here. So as I mentioned, the higher time frame still looks fairly good. We're going to need that reclaim back above your previous day highs. That's going to be key here for the QQQ. And then even for the SPY, this one slowly pushing back. It's in between its previous day's range, so not too much going on the SPY. The main thing here is the Qs along with the semis. Okay, Q's in a very key spot here. Even Palantir, we can keep an eye on this one. This is your key pivot level actually from its previous day. Plus, it's also your 5-minute range high here as well. All right, let's keep an eye out on NVIDIA on this pullback here, and then even potentially Palantir off of your 5-minute range high and a key pivot level from its previous day. Palantir, I'll be looking at the 185 calls, and then if NVIDIA could pull back here as well, key level for me and the contracts that I would be looking for would be, I'll be looking at the 187.50s, or you could take a look at the 190s on NVIDIA. Okay, let's keep an eye out on NVIDIA here. It's going to be off your 5-minute range high along with this down close candle here. With Qs kind of rejecting in a key spot, we'll see if the buyers step in. Qs kind of getting back underneath your 607. So not as bullish, but we'll keep an eye on if some of these buyers try and step in here on the major indices. Palantir looks decent, as I mentioned, 181 5-minute range high in a previous kind of level from its previous day. And then even NVIDIA, we'll see if any sort of buyers step in. If no buyers step in here, then we're just going to be a little bit more patient coming to market open. Okay, yeah, Q's dropping a little bit here once it got back underneath the 607. As for NVIDIA, this one is pulling back. We'll see if any sort of buyers try and step in here. 185.90s is going to be your key level. I do like most likely probably Palantir the best. If some sort of buyers step in here on Palantir, this one looks good above your 181. It's also your 5-minute range here as well. Keep an eye on Palantir. I'll be looking at the I'd be looking at the 185s as I mentioned here on Palantir. The 185 calls on Palantir. If you can get back above this 181 for a potential move back towards the upside and above. See if any sort of buyers step in here. I'd like to see a strong candle close. I'd be interested in the 185s as I mentioned. Okay, yeah, I got some of the Palantir. The 185 calls here on Palantir. Stop is going to be a break below your 5-minute range high. And now I'm going to be looking for a continuation above Hive Day and above. Nice kind of reaction right off the bat. What I'd like to see now on Palantir is really the close above Hive Day. This 5-minute time frame looks really good. We would like to see, I personally like to see a 5-minute candle close above Hive Day if you want to see continuation. This one does have room above Hive Day. Next level, really 183 and above here on Palantir. If you can get the Qs closed back above, this one's going to look good for a potential push back towards Hive Day. All right, so for the Qs, what I like to see here is the reaction that we have off 607. That's going to be key. And then at least for Palantir, I'd like to see it maintain above your 181 if we want to see any sort of continuation back towards the upside. As for Tesla, you can see this one kind of reversed off our key levels 446. Nvidia, no real buyers kind of stepping in. You like to see, yeah, Nvidia kind of semi showing a little bit more weakness here. Palantir, brand new high here. Key level for me, 182. Contracts aren't moving as much. They're only up around 30 cents. Qs, we're still right at this 607. Let's see if you get some buyers trying to step in here on Qs. So for Palantir, right at a key level here, 182. If you can get above 182, we do have room up and towards 183 and above. We just need the QQQ show a little bit of strength here. Yeah, I'm gonna take a little bit of profit here on Palantir, only 25% of my position. The Qs can reject off the 607 key pivot level. If anything moves higher, it is gonna be Palantir. But Qs showing a little bit of weakness here, kind of off the 607. We could see a little bit of a pullback here. Key level for me still 607, and then Palantir is gonna be this 181. All right, Qs. Let's see if we can get back above the 607 here. That's going to be key. Nvidia potentially as well. This one on a 5-minute setup. If it can get back above your 5-minute range high, potentially this one is in play here as well. More of a 5-minute setup, but this one looks decent. If you can get back above that 186. No red folder news here at 10 o'clock, but let's see if Qs can reclaim back above key levels. We should see a couple of these names move higher here if Qs can get back above this 607. That's going to be key. Okay, right back in a key level for Palantir. You can see now it's kind of slowing down just a little bit here. We're going to need that break above this 182 if you want to see any sort of continuation here. Okay, 10 o'clock just hit. We're at a very key inflection point here in the markets. 607 right at a key level. Let's see if we can get some sort of buyers to step in here. Some buyers stepping in here on Qs. Nice Qs break. Palantir, nice pop here as well. Like to take some off. 182, next level 183 here. Nice pop here on the Qs as well. Yep, that's kind of what we wanted there coming to 10 o'clock there. Taking some more off here on Palantir on this push higher. We should see this move up and towards this 183. Yeah, 183 should be in play. Potential move back up and towards that level, but look to take some profits and then we'll just kind of scale along the ways. As for Qs now, nice kind of reclaim back above this 607. Nvidia potentially in play here off your 186. We do have to keep in mind for the SPY chart, this one has just been showing weakness all day. So SPY has been weaker compared to the QQQ. So that's why coming to 10 o'clock, right, we got that pop that we wanted. We'll see if we have continuation. If we have continuation, sweet, that'll be great. If not, then we can look to just kind of trail our position here. You can see SPY on the left-hand side showing a little bit more weakness. Qs kind of got that pop, but was not back above your previous day highs. As for everything else here, I'm taking a look at the markets. Really not too much is going on after this pretty big gap up. You kind of just moved higher right off the bat, rejected off key levels like Tesla. In AMD, I mentioned a lot of kind of profit taking potentially after hitting our main objective, which was our all-time highs. No real buyers stepped in, so this one's most likely just going to consolidate for the rest of the day. We'll take a look at that one tomorrow. As for Nvidia, key level here 186. You had that break back above. Just keep an eye on. I would be a little bit more cautious on these ones. It's just kind of right at your previous day lows. The one that looks, in my opinion, pretty good based off the higher time frames. Palantir looks decent. Let me go back onto this real quick. Palantir, kind of nice reclaim back above our key level 181, plus showing some intraday strength. Potentially, we could see, right, it's kind of just coming right back in towards your 183. That's going to be the key level for me. Hopefully, let's see if we can get that 183 hit. And then, of course, we have more targets above if the market does want to show some strength, which is your 188. But that is fairly far away, so I'm not expecting that level to hit. Yeah, nice pop here once again. I'm going to look to take some more off onto this push up and towards your 183. Yeah, taking some more off here up into this 183 key level here on the higher time frames. Now for the rest of my position, I'm just going to be looking for a potential push up and towards really next levels that I do have after this 183 is really kind of this 185 previous day highs. It is fairly far away, but that's going to be kind of the next major key level here on Palantir. 5 minute higher time frames looks fairly good, but key level I just hit, right? Keep that in mind. 183, basically your Thursday's lows from last week. I only have a trailer position left. I have 20%. If we move higher, great. If not, then we'll just see what happens here with the Qs. As for the rest of the names, I personally don't see too much going on today. Besides kind of Palantir moving right off the bat. AMD, huge gap up, kind of faded after hitting all-time highs. Now we'll just kind of be more cautious here. Apple kind of rejected off your previous day highs. Tesla rejected off your previous day highs. We needed those names above your previous day highs right off the bat if we wanted to see continuation. Let's see, you guys take any trades today? I've been holding AMD from Friday. Should I hold 10 contracts expire before Friday? You should have taken some profits right off the bat. But now for AMD, it is going to go higher. But the thing is, it's about the premiums. Even if it does go higher, right, it could be back at high of day now. And it's still not going to make a new high on the contract just because that's how IV works and how the premiums work as well. So for AMD, I would have taken profits right off the bat. Now, you probably let the IV cool off a little bit. It probably doesn't make too much sense unless you scaled right off the bat. Let's see if AMD can get that kind of first dip. So far, you can see AMD showed weak. It's weak all day. It hasn't showed any sort of buyer stepping in, none off the bat, none off 213. We're most likely going to have an inside bar day. It's probably going to head up higher by the end of the week. But now you're just going to have to be a little bit more patient on these ones. No trades for me. Yeah, there's nothing really going on too much. Just kind of a couple of scalps here. Just took kind of a Palantir scalp up until there's towards that 183. Besides that, we'll still be more patient. We'll see if anything kind of sets up here. We just had 10 o'clock here as well. So far, SPY kind of in a downtrend. Qs kind of consolidating here. All right, Qs right back at a key level here as well. If you want to see some upside here on the keys, we would like to see a close back above your 607.50s. That's going to be key. Really not too much is going on. Tesla kind of just back inside this range, similar with AMD and Nvidia. Apple off of your previous day highs. Even the semiconductors that pop right off the bat, like TSNMU, these ones also kind of fading back towards the downside now. As for Palantir, a little bit of rejection off that 183, which was expected here with the Qs. I only have 20% left, so if it does move higher, really my stop now is just going to be your 182. That's the key pivot level I'd like to see hold. Right, if you can hold this, potentially we can see this next leg towards the upside. Ultimately, if we break underneath really this 182, I'm just going to end up most likely cutting the rest for probably around break even. So far, you can see SPY still has not showed any sort of buyers, any sort of buyers stepping in today. Qs kind of rejecting off the 607.50 currently. We're going to need it back above your 607.50 if we want to see any sort of continuation. As for the rest of the names, yeah, as I mentioned, not really too much is going on. We'll see if anything kind of shapes up within the next kind of 10 to 15 minutes here on the overall markets after this pretty big gap up. A lot of names are setting up nicely though. Like so far, kind of consolidating for the first 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes here. But a lot of these names are setting up nicely here on the higher time frames. Yeah, Palantir closes weak. Probably just gonna end up cutting the rest. I don't really want to manage this one on the 5. Yeah, cut the rest in small profits. So small win here on Palantir. Next kind of scalp towards the upside. Start off the week. Not really too much else is going on here. So we'll just kind of be more patient. A lot of these ones, they're still setting up, as I mentioned, on the 5 minute. Tesla will look good once we break back above that 446. Apple is going to look decent once we break back above your all-time highs. As for some of the semis so far, kind of this pop right off the bat, but fading towards the downside. AMD not really doing too much, kind of faded right off the bat. That's after hitting your all-time highs. Nvidia looked decent. I don't really like kind of how it came in, fairly steep. Potential reclaim above your 186 was in play. I didn't like the setup as much just because it's showing a little bit of weakness. But now we're just gonna wait here with the Qs and SPY. We'll see if anything kind of sets up here within the next kind of 10 to 15 minutes. But it does seem like most of the people, at least right off the bat, decent amount of profit taking. So we'll just be a little bit more patient now and see if anything sets up within the next 10 to 15 minutes. That's crazy. Hold up. Yeah, so with the keys kind of just consolidating this general area, um, SPY kind of in a downtrend, not really too much is going on. Apple setting back up here, potential kind of reclaim. It's an interesting setup just because we already had a really big drop. It is reclaiming. I do expect Apple to have a pretty big push here. I think the risk reward is going to be a little bit more difficult here on Apple, but this one has clear objectives being that 259, showing some relative strength here as well. Apple seems like kind of the only ticker now, showing a little bit of strength, kind of bouncing here with the overall markets. But key level for reclaim would be kind of your 1 minute range low. Also, you do have this 258. Okay, so far, this is kind of the first mini bounce here on the SPY and Qs. Apple, yeah, I think Apple's going to be a little bit of a tougher setup now, unless you got that reclaim back above your 257. That's going to really be your key retest. I'm not really interested in trading Apple for the break above your all-time highs. I'd much rather wait for the retest of your all-time highs. So it's either going to be the break above your 259 retest of that, or if it had some sort of pullback, potentially a dip before your all-time highs 259. As for the rest of the tickers, you have, yeah, really not too much going on. So we'll just kind of see what shapes up here within the next kind of 10 to 15 minutes. Palantir was nice and strong. This one, once it broke back underneath, yeah, that's when I cut it. You can see some momentum slowing down here, which was expected. As for Tesla, this one's been consolidating. This one still looks good here on the higher time frames, but at least intraday, kind of just in between its previous day's range. All right, so you can see with the SPY kind of bouncing here back up in towards your 670.50, Qs not really showing as much strength as before. We're still going to need that break back above your 607.50 if you want to see any sort of upside. As for Apple, about to push up in towards your all-time highs here, 259. This one, there wasn't really an entry unless you got that kind of reclaim back above your 257. Tesla, so far on this exact candle as I'm speaking, trying to break back towards the upside here as well. A fairly similar setup to Apple. Potentially we can keep an eye out on this ticker, but I'd much rather wait for the break above your high of day plus your previous day highs for a potential entry. We'll see if that offers a setup above your 446, right? There's a potential kind of entry beforehand, trying to anticipate the move up and towards your previous day highs. But really, in my opinion, the best entry would have been kind of now it's still going to be above your 446 for continuation. I like to see that set up a little bit later into the day. As for everything else, yeah, NVIDIA and AMD kind of just ranging here. And a lot of these other names kind of rejecting off key pivot points. So yeah, these names are setting up for potential move like later into today or into the week, setting up fairly nicely, at least for today. No red folder news. The main thing was AMD kind of news that we had in the pre-market, and this one just kind of fading off. So we'll see where AMD ends off on by the end of today. We'll see how that closes, and then really we'll see how it closes for the rest of the names here as well. As we're waiting here, it seems like the market's definitely slowing down, just kind of consolidating on the cues for the better part of the last kind of 40 to 50 minutes. If you guys have any questions, I'll probably answer them right now. We'll see if anything sets up within the next 10 to 15 minutes. If Qs can break back above your 607.50, that's going to be key. The only setup I really like is Apple, but I don't really want to trade Apple here now, just because it's kind of in the middle. This one is most likely going to break for that all-time highs, and it should have a nice push if you can finally break above that 259. But we rejected off this level so many times, where Apple is one of those tickers where it rejects so many times, and then the one time you don't expect it to move, and then it has a pretty big move. But 259 is going to be key. And then even Tesla, yeah, Tesla showing a little bit of strength here. Key level for me is still going to be your previous day highs, right? We could look for an entry potentially before previous day highs for a push higher, but really the best one, you have your previous day highs. You also have a higher time frame key level here as well. We have multiple touches. So for Apple, so for Tesla, for me, key level is going to be this 243. It's fairly clear. If you can break above your 243, which is high day plus your previous day highs, I think you can have a bigger move above your 243. Right? Could you anticipate the break above? You could, but you just have to be a little bit cautious. But 443 is going to be key here on Tesla. We get back above this. We actually do have room, really 450 and above. So potentially we can keep an eye out on this ticker. And then for the rest of the names, I'll just be a little bit more patient on them. Hi, Jack. Just curious, why didn't you short Qs lower to the gap fill when it retested its previous day high? It's just because I don't really like shorting when we're at all-time highs. It's just a rule that I have, right? Whenever you short at all-time highs, generally speaking, you're just going to lose, right? Because you're fighting against a trend, right? There's some cases, I think maybe on Thursday, potentially on Friday, where you would have potentially made money. It's still even a harder short because it just doesn't go straight down. But if you were looking to short, you might have won maybe a couple times in the past month if you're trying to short all-time highs. Whereas if you go look for major dips to go long, there's a much better chance you're going to make money just because you're trading within the trend. Okay, for the Qs, yeah, we're just consolidating now. So Qs consolidation, nothing's really going on. Tesla, maybe if you can break above its previous day highs, but that one's going to slowly break above. Apple key level 257.20s. That's going to be the key here on the higher time frames as well. Would you trade Apple if it retests opening range? Potentially. The key level for me on Apple, similar thing as well. It's going to be the break above your previous day highs. How many times have we rejected off this level? Right? Look at this on Apple. Like we rejected off this level so many times. If you try and if you try and anticipate the break, it could very much well kind of reject. I would be waiting for that 259 break for this continued push higher, right? Just because all-time highs rejected off this level so many times. Apple, the personality, it should actually break today. If you can get that break above, right? If Qs can show some strength here as well. But 259 is going to be key. Yeah, Tesla, once it reclaimed back above your 443, you can kind of see the strength kind of kicking in here. Now it's about to gravitate back up and towards your previous day high. So that's going to be your first target. If you, let's say you tried scalping that up and towards your previous day highs, the next opportunity now, as I mentioned, is going to be the retest of your 446. But this setup would happen later into the day, or at least on the higher time frames, for the break above your 446 for continuation. So far that first kind of dip getting bought up here on Tesla. Now the setup, we would have to wait for the consolidation, preferably break above, retest, and then continuation above your 446 here on Tesla. If it rejects off this, then I'm not as interested. I like to see, as I mentioned, consolidation, then break above, retest for continuation higher. So that's what I have for Tesla. Seems like that's the only one that's showing a little bit of strength along with Apple. As for NVIDIA, this one's trying to reclaim, but not as interested, just because of overall semis just kind of consolidating today. Couple other names are moving nicely, not the normal names you play, like CRWV's up nicely, just had a push. OKLO even right off the bat, really kind of nice push towards the upside. That one actually went back. Yeah, OKLO, really nice push actually, right back up and towards your all-time highs, and now it's rejecting, which makes sense. That had a very nice setup coming to market open. Yeah, a little bit of rejection here off Tesla. The key level, as I mentioned previously, has going to be key. Jack, do you draw your previous day high and low on other pre-market charts based off 1 hour? Because I noticed yours and Tony, it's exactly previous day highs, previous day highs. Everyone's gonna have the same previous day highs. So you can draw it on any time frame, any time frame. You can draw with the pre-market or without the pre-market. It's gonna be the exact same thing. New York session from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can use the daily chart, 1 hour, 4 hour, 30-minute, 5-minute. The previous day highs is gonna all be the same. The difference is just the way I draw it, it's just the wick to the body, whereas Tony will draw either the wick or the body. In my case, I just could draw both. Make it nice and easy. When I say today, hood at perfect 5-minute range, low retest towards the downside, learning charts, want to check my observation too. Yeah, hood was nice. As I mentioned, try and look for, in this case, a lot of the setups, if you're trading all-time highs, are going to be reclaim setups because we're bullish, right? If you trade the 5-minute range, which is really good, I would be very cautious, at least for the downside, just because we're at all-time highs, right? If you can get some sort of 5-minute range setup or some sort of reclaim setup, usually the reclaims are going to be one of the best. Like today on Palantir, this was a 5-minute range setup. I'd much rather take Palantir towards the upside than something with the 5-minute range retest towards the downside, just because we're at all-time highs. And I'd much rather, I have way more conviction going on longs than shorts, just because we're at all-time highs. Like, as you can see, Palantir broke above. There's a higher time frame key level here as well, and then you can see a nice kind of 5-minute range retest right off our key levels, and then we end up having this kind of nice scalp towards upside. Right, this is what we want to be looking for. 5-minute range retest towards upside, just because, right, as I mentioned, markets are at all-time highs. We can expect continuation. If markets want to move higher, great, we can have continuation. Whereas the downside, very difficult, especially since we are at all-time highs. Yeah, Tesla rejected off a key level, so no setup, right? Kind of maybe a mini scalp up in towards your 446. Now it's currently kind of rejecting off a key pivot level, just with the Qs, right? Makes sense, right? Qs kind of just stuck inside this range, so not really too many setups. Maybe a couple scalps here and there. Nvidia trying to reclaim, but really not too much that looks really, really good, just with the overall indices today. Now there's a little bit more kind of divergence coming into the market. SPY moved higher, right? Qs was relatively strong. Now the Qs is just consolidating. So yeah, kind of consolidation for the first hour here. We ended up taking Palantir, nice kind of scalp towards the upside, just to start off the week. Nothing really too much, kind of had just TP1, TP2, came back down. We'll see what kind of sets up. Most likely now it's just going to set up all later into the day. This sets up really good for the rest of the week. We have a lot of nice setups here. Tesla potential break above that previous day high now. Apple for an all-time highs break. A lot of the semis are setting up nicely here as well. So I think now it's just going to write consolidation today consolidation today, and it's just going to either set up potentially later into the day or maybe even the next few days. Or just freshly came off news on AMD. So let's see what happens day number 2. We have some FOMC minutes later into the week as well, which is going to be on Wednesday. And then we have a bunch of other news here as well. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, you guys can drop them in the chat and I'll go over some questions for the next kind of 10 to 15 minutes. Some housekeeping items for anyone in Traders Edge. We have emails coming out for the indicator today at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure to check your emails for that. If you are in Traders Lab, we have a bunch of Traders Edge. As for Traders Lab, we have we have Neto today. I'm like super excited for the meetup that we have. Anyone that's coming to the meetup on Wednesday, that should be super exciting. That's going to be the first one. And then other things that we do have. What else do we have? Yeah, so we have that. We have that. And then anyone for more announcements, just check out the Circle platform. Make sure to also book your implementation calls with Hayden. Some spots opened up. So he put an announcement out yesterday for implementation call for anyone new to the accelerator and the Traders Edge or the accelerator in itself. And then we have more coaching spots as well. So you can make sure to book some calls that should be in the admin trading floor or in the premium announcements. Okay, let me see here. Are you still holding NVIDIA from last week? No, I mentioned I was all cash going into the weekend. What do you do if a retest? What do you do if we're waiting for a retest but it never came? If it never comes, then we just either be patient, wait for the next setup, which would be either a down close candle, or we just don't take the trade. But majority of the time, just gonna have some sort of setup, either be a reclaim setup or immediate retest or some sort of retest. There's some scenarios where it's so bullish where the higher time frames doesn't come, but usually on offer re-entry or some sort of pullback where we can get in long. Where's the link for the implementation call? I'm sure someone can link it. I'll try and find the chat for you, or if Hayden's in here, he can send the link here in this chat. Mark, so it's zone including wicks and bodies. Previous day high and low is different as mine showing the low at Asian. Yeah, so it's going to be the New York session open, not the pre-market and not the after hours. You're going to be marking the New York session open for your previous day highs and lows. Everyone has the same levels. But yeah, you can see a little bit of divergence here now. For the Qs, you can kind of see we're kind of right around the 607, trying to reject off this level actually. As for the SPY, key level is going to be your 607.50 Qs. You have your 670.50, and then we have your 607.50. So fairly similar numbers. But for the Qs, as I mentioned, if you want to see longs, we needed to get above your 607.50. Kind of just been consolidating that general area for the first hour. So not too much has happened on the overall indices, at least today. We're just going to be patient now until we can either break back above your 607.50 and look for some longs, or I don't really like shorting when we're at all-time highs. We do have this very small gap fill towards the downside, but as I mentioned, for me at least, it's hard to have conviction on the downside when we're at all-time highs. Thoughts on SoFi? I like SoFi a lot. I'm invested heavily long-term. My 3 top positions are Tesla, SoFi, and Hood, but I like those ones the best. I'm going to hold. I'm most likely just going to hold it. I took a little bit of profits, but I'm just going to end up holding it for the long term. After that big push like AMD today, positive earnings, there's usually not much intraday towards the upside. Usually seems to realize this after seeing a lot of, whenever there's some gap rules, but whenever we have big gap ups in the market, like something like AMD where we gap up like 30%, there's going to be a lot of profit taking right off the bat. So even the IV was super high, We're somewhat interested in AMD, but it already hit our all-time highs. If it didn't hit the all-time highs, then we would have looked to trade it up and towards the all-time highs. But since we hit it, we're just going to be patient and wait for the first 15 to 30 minutes. Contracts were really juiced up as well. So that's why no trade on AMD, plus there's no setup as well. Ticker. Let's see. Yeah, Apex put the Calendly link for the group implementation. And then there's also other coaching calls as well. Thanks for linking that. Is Tesla a reclaim? It was a reclaim before, not now, Tesla kind of rejected off of your previous day high. So it just rejected off in a very key pivot spot. So if you're looking at Tesla, kind of see drove up, It's hard to kind of long into a key level of resistance. That's why I mentioned I'm waiting for the break above your previous day highs. So this is a very key level here. You can see multiple touches back here as well. It's going to be hard to long up in towards our 444. So that's why coming to market open, really the game plan here on Tesla was break above your previous day highs for this potential continuation higher, or it was a pullback long off your 442. If we try and long up in towards that previous day highs, it's going to be fairly difficult. So you can see, at least intraday wise, nothing's really happened. You kind of had this initial push, but ultimately kind of rejecting off these pivot highs. So until Tesla can break above and hold, then we're going to be a little bit more cautious. Is there scalps here and there? Yes, but the best trade, in my opinion, is going to come above that 446. I've never got info for Circle. Be ready for the bootcamp. Yeah, make sure to check your spam folder for that for the invite for Circle. If not, you can also open up a help ticket, Billy. Should I stay on the 5 minute until it breaks and then go until 1 minute? Yeah, just there's no reason to be on the 1 minute. Every 1 minute candle's not really doing too much. Something like that. Solid gains, Eric. Is that from AMD long term? Nice. My dad actually messaged me. I told my dad to buy AMD a few weeks ago, and he's actually up nice, which is actually pretty cool. Should I stay on the 5 minute? Yes, must have been some AMD. When you guys post P&L, can you guys please comment? Yes, Adele, we always post, for at least the game plan, check out the weekly recaps, and then also check out the daily trade reviews as well. Still no email from Trader's Edge. I've had tickets since, sorry. For the tickets, we'll get back to you guys on the tickets. But if you guys make sure to check your spam emails first, most of you guys have it. You should check your regular email. Make sure the one that you signed up with WAP, that's the email that you're going to get sent to. And then also check your spam folders just in case. Usually you should just go to your regular email. But if you haven't received emails to join Circle, then you can open up a help ticket and someone will help you out. Yeah, you guys should all receive that. The ebook, everything, as I mentioned, the indicator is going to come out today at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As for the ebook and everything else, you guys will receive it as well. Anyone know where to link Hayden Neto's interview? Neto's interview is on the main Traders Lab channel. J-Dub tried NVIDIA at 10 p.m. Close was aggressive but didn't work out at 10 p.m. Yeah, so this one, the setup with this is that I would have liked to see that first initial reaction. That would have looked the best. This one, reclaim back above. I can see that 10 a.m. candle right here, trying to anticipate this move back towards the upside. Ultimately, it just didn't work out. So the setup is decent. You had a nice kind of reaction here with the Qs, but ultimately, once it didn't move, that was a good key that it was just going to be a quick stop out, right? The contrast probably didn't move. It would have been negative, like maybe 10 to 15%. How do you identify buyers come up? But just look at the price action. You can look at the price action around the key levels. Plus, there's other things that you can look as well, like confluences, and then you can also take a look at volume if you'd like as well. Let's see. Took the same trade. Look at decent reclaim. Guys, Q's got skipped. Same here. Oh, sorry. If your question got skipped, you can. There's a lot of questions, so you can paste it back in the chat. I'll try and take a look at them. Is Traders Lab not including is Traders Lab not included? No, that's a separate. Everything in Traders Lab. If you're in Traders Lab, you get everything in Traders Edge, and then if you're in Traders Edge, it's different than the Traders Lab itself. Let's see. I noticed a few members of Daily Law. It might be good to chat about rolling off. Yeah, rolling options is great, especially for long-term thesis. If you're in profit, just because rolling just means you're in profit, so you're going to look for the next expiration. Yeah, the NVIDIA was a decent reclaim. I didn't like it once it broke underneath. So it reclaimed back above. Obviously, Palantir had the most relative strength. The first initial retest we were looking for was this one, kind of off this retest high, which would have been the best in my opinion. It would have been here if buyers stepped in for continuation higher. That would have looked the best. This one dug a little bit deeper into the 5-minute range, which would have been this level. And you can see nice kind of bounce here. This would have been your reclaim setup for a potential pushback towards the upside, but ultimately it didn't end up working out. If you're looking for the reclaim, I think this was a decent setup, kind of just stop a break underneath, and you would have been looking for high and above, just something like that. But the context with the overall Qs was just kind of consolidating. So let's see. Can you look at let's take a look at this. Jumaya. So this one, if you look at the daily chart, kind of curling fairly nicely here. It's really dropped quite a bit from the highs of 2021, but this would be more based off of fundamentals, right? Technical setup looks really good. Now it'd also be based off of fundamentals and any sort of news catalyst. Whenever you're talking about these ones with long term, right, the chart looks really good in the past 20 to 40 days. Now, right, the technical setup looks very, very bullish. If you have any sort of fundamental catalyst or anything moving, this can have a really big, nice push back towards the upside here as well. So 15 is going to be your next key level. It should hit maybe any sort of news that pushes us higher. It should have a very nice push towards 15. Exactly. Just happy based on stop loss and principal. Exactly. We'll see what sets up. Yeah. Currently, Qs, SPY really not doing too much. Qs actually dropping a little bit more here now. SPY just kind of consolidating this range. So super solid. sorry, yeah, Q's consolidating SPY. So we'll see what sets up potentially later into the day in the next few days. Let's see. No, that one's a separate one, Mal. That's separate. What's your TP on Tesla shares? I'm just gonna hold. I have Tesla shares. It's gonna be main objective number one, all-time highs, and then we're gonna be looking for continuation above all-time highs. We've had a lot of a lot of consolidation the past couple of years on Tesla, kind of just going from all-time highs back down and towards like 200-300. So for Tesla, in my opinion, I think we can get a nice break above your all-time highs. If we can hold really on the weekly and monthly chart, I think we can have continuation 500 and above is in play. Thoughts on Bitcoin? Bitcoin should be at all-time highs. I'm done for the day. Past trading time, everything seems consolidation. I'll take a look. Yeah, we'll see what sets up tomorrow. Is there news? Is it to me or is there every Is it to me or are there also every news week hold up in the market? Okay. Let me check the Zoom chat. Yeah, you can see SPY's reclaiming here now, and then Q's showing a little bit more weakness. Tesla's the one that looks really good. I think the Tesla, if you were interested in Tesla for the reclaim back above your 446, this is really the only one that's holding up as the market's dropping. You can anticipate this break just because we're now building up kind of these higher lows here in the overall market for this break above. Right, there's two scenarios if you're interested in playing Tesla. There would be kind of playing this like higher low on this 1 minute time frame for anticipation of the break above, kind of building off these higher lows. Maybe you're looking for these dips for this push up in towards your previous day high and above, or as I mentioned, you'd be waiting for the break. So either buying up these higher lows for the anticipation, or now what I'd probably be waiting for would be the break above, retest, and then continuation, like a trade setup later into the session. Okay, let me check out the Zoom. I received Zoom link emails from chat. Yeah, that's my personal email. That I'm not sure why. It's just I haven't changed it, but yeah, that is not a scam. That's just the one I have linked to the Zoom. I'm not sure why it sends it off that email. Let's see. For AMD, yeah, AMD was based off the technicals. That was technicals. That one was beaten down. That one had room towards all-time highs. It's basically when you're in a bull market, anything that's not at all-time highs usually gravitates towards all-time highs. It's kind of a theme. When everything's at all-time highs, usually they just buy just based off risk to reward, right? When all the semis are at all-time highs, like Nvidia, the rest of the ones, AMD is technically the only one that hasn't hit an all-time high. So next logical scenario is that, right, most likely, at least from a risk reward standpoint, right, AMD is probably going to gravitate towards all-time highs, plus technicals and other things as well. Yes, that one, the email's coming out today at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do you always use Qs for an entry with semis? If you're looking at the semis, you can take a look at the SMH, but you can also take a look at the Qs as well. A little bit of reaction on SPY and Qs. We'll see if Tesla can eventually get that break. That's going to be key 446. Yes, with Nvidia, let's see. But when AMD set up for a drop base, the opening range break was not worth it. AMD would have been hard because if we gapped up towards all-time highs, it would have been a very aggressive short. That's not something really in our playbook. After a big gap up, we'll usually look for that dip and rip on day one. We don't really like to short day one. That's something at least I have not found a really crazy success in, is shorting day one news names, especially if it's very bullish. Right, you had that kind of nice opening play towards the downside, but besides that, now on AMD, I would be more cautious coming into the rest of the week here if you're trying to short. That was kind of the first initial play where you had to be quite aggressive. But yeah, Q's at low of day here. Some buyers stepping in. Tesla seems like we're going to get that break above the key level. It seems like if it breaks above, yeah, the retest would be your previous day highs. With something like SoFi, I decide to buy with more of a stock is more long term. Is it better to wait for the previous dip to something like the previous all time highs to buy more? So there's different ways to do it. You can dollar cost average if you're very, very bullish long term. And to protect some downside as well, you can always, once it pops higher, another ways is to sell like covered calls. There's different option strategies where you can use to leverage options fairly nicely. Okay, with the market, kind of just consolidating here. Q's finding some buyers, spy in the middle of the range. Tesla, you can see pushing up nicely here. Kind of these higher lows are being built. Now we're breaking above your 446. So at least for me, I'm interested in Tesla now, but it would have to be a 5-minute setup waiting for the break above your previous day highs. Right, if you anticipated it and you're looking to buy up these higher lows, right, take some profits at your all-time highs. At least for me now, potential setup later into the session above your 446. It actually seems, right, you can see push up, rejection, another rejection. So Tesla, I would really only be interested maybe later into the session for a break above your previous day highs. Hello, first day here. If you can't hear me, make sure to check out the Zoom chat. It's most likely on your end with Discord. If that doesn't work, Zoom's always working, so you can always join the Zoom link as well. Did you take Friday's expiration on Mondays? Yes, that's the only expiration that we have. Weeklies, taking weekly expirations. To Google, let's see, could you check Amazon? So rejecting Amazon's not really doing too much. There's not really too much to say here on Amazon. We're kind of just been consolidating here on the daily time frame. As you can see, kind of reject after 235. Now we're just right back into towards your 216. If you look at this on the hourly, we're just kind of consolidating. So there's not really, we're ever since we had this earnings from July, it's basically been inside of this range since July. So a couple months just kind of consolidating in between 240 along with this 210. Nvidia had very minor relative strength. You got to think about it. AMD, I was only interested if it showed some relative strength right off the bat. Once it didn't show relative strength, I wasn't interested because technically AMD, if you're looking at this on the higher time frames, we're actually down on the day. We had some news as well. So the only setup would have been right off the bat would have been this 5-minute range break, retest, continuation, right? In my opinion, it looked more like this. Broke above and then kind of broke underneath and then did something like this. It wasn't like the best break and retest because the best one would have been the break above, retest, continuation. But in this case, kind of broke underneath our key pivot high, had this small reclaim. I wouldn't really, it still was intact. So it was kind of technically the 84%. But I wouldn't consider this because the first setup, right, there was just no entry on the first one. So there's no initial reaction on NVIDIA. %. No, Palantir wouldn't classify as the 84% rule as well because that one worked out. That one worked out right off the bat. Let's take a look at actually Palantir here. This would be more of a reclaim. So the 84% rule is just stating that if the first retest fails and if you have the exact same criteria and conditions, then that's where the 84% rule stands. In this case, right, if you're looking at Palantir, you already had the nice retest kind of off this 180. Now we're reclaiming back above, right? Could this be good for a push higher? It can. But now it's like the context, I don't really like it. I already pushed higher. The trade worked out. It would be more of like a 5-minute reclaim if you're interested above, right, kind of this 180 key pivot high. No sound. Yeah, sound's always working. If sound's not working, as I was mentioned, reconnect, check your Discord on your end, and then you can always join Zoom as well. But yeah, at least for me, it seems like it was most of the questions. It doesn't seem like the market's really doing too much now with kind of SPY and Qs just consolidating. I don't really see too much else. Tesla rejected off key levels here as well. So that's most likely going to be it for me. Took one trade today. Just kind of a nice scalp to start off the week. I think a lot of things are setting up later into the week. We have AMD news. We'll see what happens on day number 2. A lot of other setups with some news later into the week here as well. So a lot of semis, a lot of other things setting up. If I do see anything, I'll let you guys know later into today. If not, hope you guys have a good rest of the day. As for housekeeping items, I already mentioned it. Make sure to check your emails today at 12 p.m. And then anyone in Traders Lab, we have Neto, and then we have some other things as well. But yeah, that's going to be it for me today. And I will see you guys all tomorrow. All right. Take care, everyone. Peace.